Hey, how's it going, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of the Nurse Doc Show. It has been an amazing season. This is episode 15. I can't believe we're already at 15. This whole entire summer has been spent trying to pull a little bit of something together. Tonight, we're ending kind of like the season with probably what's going to be one of my most favorite episodes. And that's because I've worked with so many talented nurses, healthcare professionals over the course of almost 17 years. And it's been an amazing experience. And because of that experience, I've seen some things. And seeing those things, other people sees those things. So tonight I have on other nurses and nurses attendants talking about our challenging relationship at times, and most people know about it. We have a bit of a power dynamic, but we work very closely together. And the most important person is that relationship and that patient. So, anyways, we're going to join them a little bit after this, but first, take a look at the promo. Okay, so yeah, I'm doing something that I've never done before. I have on three other guests, and you guys hopefully will be joining in, calling in, videoing in your questions about the interesting dynamics. So, again, it's been an amazing week. I've added over, I think, half more subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much for continuing to watch my show and find value in hopefully the content because it means a lot. I mean, my name is Wesley Willis. I'm the nurse doc for those who haven't tuned in before. And I use this little thing right here to show you guys like what's going on. So I don't know why I put the nurse doc in that screen, but I do stupid things like that sometimes. So the first person that I have coming on, they're all going to be in the same block, is Miss Tiaja B. Ooh, Tiaja, you got my screen, baby. So Tiaja is a nursing attendant. She works at Kennedy Health. She is been one of the most amazing nursing attendants that I've worked with. I've seen this girl in the code. She's doing chest compressions for your life. Like if you're gone, TH is bringing you back. And while I've worked with other nursing attendants who've done a great job, she's probably one of the most powerful women that I've seen in terms of getting that heart pumping. So Tiaja's going to be coming on in a second. Also, I'm going to have on Miss Rebecca Brooks. As you can see, Rebecca takes up a little bit less screen, Tiaja. Rebecca is also, I worked with her as a nursing attendant as in the emergency room at Vassar, and she has since gone on in her profession. She still works with patients, but she has almost 20 years in healthcare as a nursing attendant. So she is no brand new face to what's going on. I hear a little beat. That's why I'm looking around. And then also my nurse colleague, Miss Lyndsey I, one of the most compassionate nurses that I've worked with over the course of my 17 years in healthcare. When it comes to patient care and being involved and engaged with patients and concerned about patients' well-being, Lyndsey Ingram does an amazing job. So I'm excited to have her on. And anybody else who decides to come on, I welcome you. Okay, so we're gonna bring them in. Like I said, feel free to have your questions, and then let's get them going. Tiaja's not on. Tiaja is having technical difficulties, right, guys?
Right.
Yes.
So Tiaja always makes fun of me for showing up late to work. So Tiaja, you're late to work. So yeah. So thank you all for joining tonight. I prefaced
Absolutely.
this episode with all of you, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a pretty interesting and amazing episode. So
Okay.
we can start with you, Rebecca. Tell people about yourself. How did you get here? What makes you valuable to this panel?
Well, I'm a CNA and a certified EKG technician. I've been a CNA for 21 years. I've been a certified EKG technician for the last 2 years. And I've worked my way up through healthcare. I started off in a nursing home, and then I worked at the VA hospital in my hometown for 6 years. And then I moved up to New York, and I did a little bit of work with the developmentally disabled. So I got my hands kind of, dirty with that. And then I worked at the Northeast Center for Special Care for, traumatic brain injuries. I worked on the step down unit from the vent unit there. And I did that for a year. And then I've been at Vassar for the last 7 years. So
Nice.
I
And
started off at Vassar in the ER.
like I
Yep.
told people, we work together in the emergency room. So,
I was the
and we
ER
had
tech. Yes,
plenty
sir.
of fun. We had plenty of fun
Yes,
during my time
yes,
there.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
so
You had a lot of experiences. Absolutely.
thank you. And Lyndsey, tell us about yourself. Tell viewers about yourself. How did you get here? Why did you choose nursing? What were you doing before nursing?
Before nursing, I was a paralegal for several years. I got into nursing because I had been really sick. I had once been paralyzed from the neck down for several weeks.
Okay.
And that really got me into thinking, wow, these women and men, they are amazing. And to be quite honest with you, I do prefer a male nurse over a female nurse, just so you know.
Okay.
um, but yeah, right now I have been able to accept a wonderful position where, because I don't know if you remember, I worked nights as a nurse and days as a paralegal, and I was starting to go crazy. So I accepted a position as a nurse paralegal at a really big law firm in Center City. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice. So would you say that you're leaving nursing?
No, I am
Okay.
still a nurse, and I do that at the desk side. They call me in, and I talk to patients about the medical care that they have received, and we discuss this is the proper medication you're on, and everything like that, like you do at the bedside, but I do it over the phone.
Nice. All right. So, and then we got Tiaja, and Tiaja is over here as soon as she logs in, but she's having some problems with her headphones, and we got to go live. We got to keep this on time. So, Tiaja's seen this video actually. Tiaja sent me this video, and this is the source of our conversation, guys, just in case you don't know. All right, let's go.
Run it down, baby. Don't touch my car, cause I just cleaned it. What do you want?
Okay, your shift not ended yet.
My shift is over in 5 minutes.
Leave at 3 o'clock and not 2:55.
Baby, you ain't my boss. What do you want?
Need you to come up in here and get that patient at 103 that medicine.
That is not my doggone job. That's your job. You think you finna sit on Facebook all day?
Hey, what's your title?
I'm a CNA,
Okay, and what does a CNA, what's the mean?
certified nurse assistant.
Hey, which mean assist me, right? Right?
So you must not be a real nurse, cause all you do is sit at your little desk. You must be a security guard. Cause all you do is patrol the halls. You don't do nothing. We don't do y'all work. We assist y'all. We help. They ain't say do the whole doggone thing.
Hey, so if you assist me, you need to come and help me right now.
Okay, you don't assist D and them do it on first shift.
D who?
These nuts. Now move from my car. And you can go tell them that I said that. Cause I knock your head clean off your doggone shoulder. Don't play with me. I done sat up here and did all them booties out and clean. You better go about your business, old lady, before you get hit.
Tell you what, you hit me, you gonna need a CNA.
That's what I thought. Get back.
Make me sick, nasty heifer.
What you say?
I say that ain't a real scrub you got on. You cut it up. You're a ratchet heifer.
And them is not real Air Force Ones you got on neither.
What is them then?
They British Knights. Why you wanna walk the soul off of them?
Get your hair done, you water Marcus.
Helpful.
Dyke.
So, while nursing attendants and nurses, we don't quite act like that, but you know, we gotten close. Some of us have gotten close to showing out and having to have other people involved in separating us. What do you guys get from that video? Start with you, Rebecca.
I get that obviously the aide had a busy day, and the nurse followed the aide out to the car because there was still some work that needed to be done, according to the nurse. You know?
Right.
And the tech was like, I done been working. My shift is over. According to such and such, I can clock out. I'm off the clock. No, but the nurse said, no, but you got some work to do. But the thing about the video is that, like we were discussing earlier, a little bit earlier before the show started, the dynamic, the nurse, the tech, or the aide, and how administration sets up this dynamic between the two. And the attitude that I got from the nurse is, well, you're going to do what I tell you to do, and it's not 3:00, so you need to get back in here and do what I'm asking you to do, you know, and not taking in consideration or being sympathetic to the fact that the aide has worked hard all day. And it is technically your job to give that medication. It's not mine. Because I'm not licensed. I don't have a license to give medication.
Now that is the role of a nurse, so he took it a little far, but hey.
Right, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, in the real world, a nurse is not going to ask the tech to give any medication. In the real world, we already know this. And it all depends on the facility too, and what their policies and procedures are, as far as that's concerned. But that's what I just got, the whole nurse tech dynamic, with the nurse feeling like, you know, I have the authority. I have some type of authority over you because I have a degree. And that's how a lot of nurses do feel. Like, I have the degree, you're supposed to do what I say, and that's that, which is not the case. Like I said before, we are all healthcare professionals, and we all play a role in the care of a patient. And the more that we understand and work together as a team, the better off the patient's going to be. Because at the end of the day, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes,
so
it does.
You know.
So, Lyndsey, you tell me what you got from it. What I got
from it is that, you know, they are the nursing assistants are very, very overworked, and they can only take so much. And I get it, because there are some nurses who expect everything from them, and it's not fair. Like, I know it's a little exaggeration, but you know, the medication, that's the nurse's job.
Right.
There's so much stuff that the nurse can, everybody can do together, but the nurses always insist, it's not my job. But at the end of the day, it is. So I think the nurses obviously need to step up a little more and be a little more appreciative to realize that we're wearing the poor nursing assistants thin.
Well, so that's interesting, because I've written a nursing attendant up in the course of my years as a registered nurse. I mean, I will say that it was justified. I think the other part of that is there is a bit of a power struggle. One being that, hey, we are war thin. Nurses are war pretty thin and are really struggling. We are liable for so much in terms of medication, in terms of patient outcomes, in terms of like what they teach us in school. Like you delegate to the nurse and attendants. Like you're taught from the very beginning. You're taught from the very beginning that it's your role while you're in school to delegate these responsibilities to licensed practical nurses and certified nursing attendants or nursing techs to their abilities within reason. So when you get that message and that's what you're told, I'm supposed to delegate you, and you're a new nurse out of school, you're like, this is within your scope, and this is what you're supposed to do because that's what I was taught in school, and that's it. So, so I mean, it's. I mean, Lyndsey, you can disagree with me if you want to. What do you? What that was that the message that you got?
Um, I got the message that we should all work together. I mean, when I was in nursing school, yes, the tech does this, they do that. The nurse assistant does this, the nurse assistant does that. I even had a teacher my first semester who said, I don't know what you guys think you're doing, but the tech does everything, so don't even worry about learning anything else but this. And I thought, oh,
Right.
so that's not good either.
Right, exactly. And I was hoping that Tiaja would be on because she has a different story. And Tiaja, you better go ahead and call in, girl, because I'm about to tell you a story. So Tiaja was recently suspended from work. She's back. She's since back, but she was suspended because a nurse wrongly said that Tiaja pushed her. And let's just say, I mean, you both know that we have a very playful relationship at work. You know the
Right.
nurses that you can play with and the nursing
Right.
attendants that you can joke with and that you can, do things with that you can't do with other practitioners or professionals.
Right.
And so Tiaja, in her own right, I mean, I've worked with the nurse, so I know the nurse, thought, hey, this is part of the culture. This is what we do. And for whatever reason, that nurse exaggerated and said Tiaja pushed her. And trust me, administration's first response was, Tiaja, you're wrong. You're going out. Not that that nurse was suspended, or also how this impacted her family being out of work. So, there was a lot that came with that. And I think that, like we said, administration gives us this hierarchy. So not only in school do we have this idea that we're the nurse and it's our responsibility to make sure that patient outcomes are good, but also if it comes down to a nurse's word versus a tech's word or an aide's word, they're pretty much going to side with the nurse. I mean, or am I exaggerating, guys? Is that
No,
You're right.
I think that you're right with that, Leslie. Because at the end of the day, I think that administration wise, they feel like CNAs and techs are expendable. Like it's harder to find good nurses, but it's easy to find techs because it's just booming. The field is booming. But the thing that they don't understand is to find good nurses and good techs is hard. I mean, you can hire anybody. That's not necessarily going to constitute that they're going to be good at what they do. So I said, I think that administration has really got that messed up because, that we've spoken about this before. They think that we're expendable. Like,
Right.
okay, if you don't want to do what the nurse tells you to do, or you don't want to comply, or you just we'll find somebody to replace you. That's the attitude that I found being in healthcare for so many years. That it's just, if you leave, we'll get somebody to replace you. If you leave, we'll get somebody to replace you. So, and that's not an attitude that any facility should have because you lose good people with that type of attitude. You lose really good people
right?
with that type
Right.
of attitude.
Right. And some of y'all guys are the eyes and ears for the nurses. Like
Right.
my
If
techs
you're
have
in a
helped me save
room
lives.
and a patient, the nurses with other patients, we are the ones that's gonna tell you, the person in room 332 does not look right. She didn't look that way this morning. And you might take some vital signs, and we're the ones that's gonna let you know when a patient is crashing because we're constantly in a room.
Right.
And I've had several instances where I've walked in a room and the patient did not look well, or I've gotten report from a previous shift, and they were telling me she was doing okay, but she really don't look right. See how when we go in and see her, you see how she is with you, and we'll talk amongst one another, and I'm like, no, Mrs. So and so doesn't look right. So you keep an eye on that, and then you let the nurse know. And that's the way that it should be. We should all be kind of eyeballing everybody if we can, but sometimes we can't be everywhere at once, and that's including nurses.
Right.
I can't be everywhere at once. You can't be everywhere at once. Lord forbid you get a critical patient and you literally have to be one-on-one. So now, especially working in the ER, when we get critical patients, that nurse is one-on-one with that patient until the patient is moved to a critical care unit. So I'm the eyes and ears for the rest of the patients that nurse has.
Right.
They might put another nurse in charge, but that nurse hasn't been with the patient the whole shift. So she's just getting, whatever she can get from the report given while the primary nurse is in with a critical patient.
Right.
So then it becomes my responsibility to kind of keep an eye on everybody else. So, and that's the way that it should be. It shouldn't be the nurse sitting behind the desk, we all on Instagram and we making, we booking flights for, wherever.
Don't tell my business on TV.
Next.
Don't tell my business. Don't tell my business.
Yeah, you remember when you printed out them tickets, I'm just saying.
Right.
But, it shouldn't be like that. Now, a nurse being in the room with a critical care patient is one thing, but just sitting around doing nothing while, the tech is running around doing everything that's just, it's becoming a little redundant. And that's where you get the animosity. That's exactly where that animosity comes from.
Well, the animosity also comes in because, like, as I was walking out of the door, I wasn't walking out the door, but I overheard one of the aides say, "These nurses just sitting here making $50 and $60 an hour, and they want me to do their work, and they want me to answer these call bells. They're not even getting up." That's
yeah.
Lyndsey, what do you think when you hear somebody say that? Like,
what? $50, $60.
Well, this is New York City, so
right. So they making 50, 60.
Right.
Right.
But Lyndsey, I mean, doesn't that set you up like, ooh, well, hold up, I got a BS in. I went to school. I worked my butt off for this.
And I agree with that. Nurses go through a lot, and I feel like that Wesley, with somebody saying that's crazy. Like it's everybody's job to answer a call. Like it's not just the nurse's responsibility. And as far as the pay, you went to school. You might have 1, 2, 3 degrees, and you went to school so you could better yourself for that pay. Now, if a person's going to complain about that, we all have the same opportunities. Some people might have it a little bit harder than others. You might have small kids at home. You might do this, but if you really want it, you can go out and get it.
Right.
That's what that all boils down to. Don't criticize a person for what they do and how much they make because you're not making it. That's not how this works. And I just feel like, I would have felt some type of way being a nurse and heard somebody say that. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Because like you said, I worked hard for where I am right now. And it wasn't always easy for me. But guess what? I saw what I wanted to do and I set out and achieved that goal. And that's just the way it is. So don't criticize me for that.
Right. So Rebecca, what's your most interesting or like trying story with a nurse during your years, if you can remember?
Oh,
I'm putting you on the. I didn't ask you all these questions beforehand because I didn't want you to think about it. So, what's been your most trying situation where a nurse said something, did something, and y'all was like, "We're not having this today"?
Oh my God. When I very first became a CNA, I think I had been a CNA for like 2 years. And I was working in a nursing home, and it was a long-term skilled facility. And it was one of the biggest nursing homes in the town that I lived in. And on in each hallway, there were like 30 some odd beds. And I had a new young nurse that had just graduated out of school, and she was there, and we were shorthanded that day. So, like, it was one tech for 30 some odd patients down each hallway. So that's three techs in the building, three aides in the building. So I think it was the beginning of the month, and at the beginning of the month, we have to do the weights and vital signs and stuff. And the nurse was getting upset because we were like, we're shorthanded. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all the vital signs and weights on these people, and have to do, at the time I was working evenings, and be able to do dinner and set up trays and do, and all this. And she was like, well, I'm the nurse, you're the aide, and it needs to get done. Let me tell you something. Wesley, I was boiling. I said, Lord, I'm going to need Jesus to step in and take the wheel, because I'm about to jump over this desk right now. And that was one of my very first experience with the dynamic. I'm the nurse. You're the aide, and you're going to do what I tell you to do. This needs to be done, and you're going to do it.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, and I was young and more vibrant back then, honey. I said,
I can just imagine.
you lucky you ain't going outside in your car on all four flats messing with me.
Oh my goodness! So we're gonna examine that, Lyndsey. What you're on? Don't think about it. What was your most embarrassing or trying experience with a nursing attendant? But Lyndsey, you worked as a nursing attendant.
I did.
I'm
But
not.
my
I didn't
most
know that.
recent encounter was when I went in and I said, can you just double check to make sure that the patient isn't wet, and I'll be in there with all the linens and everything, and we can change them together. And the nursing attendant came out and said, they're not wet. And so I had all the linens anyway, and I went in the room. I'm like, I can smell urine. And the patient was soaked. So I just ended up doing it myself, because I figured, you know what? It's not gonna be nice. And this poor patient is just sitting there thinking, yeah, I am wet. I told him I was wet. And I was like, I know. Don't worry. We've got this. Just work with me. It'll be faster. So, I mean, there's some that just don't want to be involved in the care, and then there's some that are very, very hands-on, as in,
Right.
Are you still giving them a bath?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I mean, now hopefully a couple of them are watching it. I've had friends who are going through the nursing attendant program, and they be like, I clean ass all day long, just like what Kerwan said. And by the way, giving credit to where credit is due, that video was made by a comedian who does live on Facebook and Instagram, and his handle is I am Kerwan. So definitely check him out. But that's what a lot of nursing attendants feel like. They're like, I'm made to do the dirtiest part of this job, while other people sit around and don't help. Rebecca, is that what you think? Like, the expectation is that you do the nastiest part of the job?
I'm not saying that we do the nastiest part, because nurses have some pretty nasty things that they have to do too.
Baby, them wounds be sick.
Especially when you got to clean out trachs, you got to suction, you got to put in NG tubes, you got to do Foleys. Those aren't the most, clean type of procedures to do. And, but I think a lot of CNAs are like, we're just certified ass wipers. That's what they say. We're certified ass wipers. So, but that's the furthest from the truth. I think sometimes administration and some nurses make them feel like that's all they are, is a certified ass wiper. Because a CNA's role is very important, because in the grand scheme of things, we are the first line of defense. Usually before the nurse even comes in there, we're in the room. So, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Right.
But I just think that it's just people are making people feel some type of way about their profession. There are really good nurses and really bad nurses. There are really good CNAs and really bad CNAs. But it all depends on a person's mental when they choose to do healthcare. Because, I feel like a lot of people got into healthcare back in 2008 when the bubble burst. So healthcare was a thing that you get a job in, So a lot of people that, maybe were doing other things and it went back to school to become nurses because that's where the money was coming,
Right. We did
and
have
that doesn't
explosion.
right. So, I think a lot of people got into healthcare that really wasn't what they wanted to do. Some of them ended up really enjoying it, and some of them really are just in it for a paycheck. And you can tell the difference. Somebody that's truly empathetic to somebody else's wants and needs is truly going to care about that person and their well-being. Whereas a person that comes in just wanting a paycheck is just they're going to do the bare minimum,
Right.
and go home, So that's where I think a lot of that comes from. I think people just make people feel some type of way,
Right.
About what they're doing.
Right. Well, like I said, I think I shared my story, is I wrote up a CNA over the course of my experience one time, and she pissed me off so bad.
And that takes a lot. That takes a lot.
Rebecca,
For you.
you know me.
That takes a
You
lot.
know me.
Yeah.
I will be, you know what, I'll do it myself. I'm like, I'm doing it myself. I don't care. Or I'll be like, you know what, that's a day shift problem. I'll let the day shift deal with that. We not about that tonight. We short staffed. We only got a couple of girls on the clock, and that's just how it's going to be. But she really, she put the patient's safety at risk. And it was in an instance where I said, hey, can you check this blood sugar? This patient really needs to be checked and needs to be watched. And I'm running around on the floor because I'm not going to lie, this was a shit hospital I worked at. Baby.
Okay.
And I had 14 other patients to deal with. So 2-3 hours later, I'm like, hold up. Okay, what? And I said, did you get that done? Oh, no, I was busy. Now, meanwhile, I saw her not doing nothing. So you have literally, put a person at risk. And I just ask you, hey, just do a blood sugar. It won't take that long. But she was like from another floor.
2.2 seconds.
Right.
2.2
So
seconds.
I had to write her up. And unfortunately, in that situation, administration got rid of her immediately. But I felt that was a little bit unfair. But at the end of the day, I felt kind of like justified because I need to take care of my patient. That's that's what we all come to work for. And all the other stuff is nothing.
And I think a lot of times, a lot of CNAs do, but a lot of CNAs don't realize that every day when a nurse goes to work, she's putting her license on the line, because you never know what may happen, or you never know what may happen. Just like you said with the blood sugar. Now, if something really became of that situation, guess who they're going to look at first?
Me.
You.
Me. Right.
So I can understand you doing that, because at the end of the day, the patient's safety is number one. You want to keep that patient safe. And if her not checking her blood sugar compromised that, then you got to do what you need to do. Now, maybe firing her was a little extreme. Maybe y'all could have suspended her.
Right.
And worked from there. But she needed to do what she needed to do. And when you are running around and, like you said, you see her not doing anything, and then when you ask her, did she do it, and she's like, no, then you start boiling, because you're like, I asked you to do this how long ago, and I've seen you not doing anything. So yeah,
Right.
I can say that's justified. I can say that's justified.
Perfect. Thank you for siding with me. By the way,
You
I just took
know.
Tiaja out because Tiaja obviously isn't coming. She sent me a text message talking about we waiting for you, boo. Y'all wanna see the receipts? Let me show y'all the receipts. This girl. I mean, is the receipts up? Let, let me go to the receipts. So Tia's like, we waiting for you. I said, we waiting for you, boo. Like, where you at? I don't know. I don't know about some of these little young girls nowadays. I just don't know what to say.
Oh,
But
that's a whole new different podcast.
that's a whole nother podcast. But
That's
thank
a
you
whole nother
guys.
one.
I mean, like I said to you before when I invited you on, I want to thank each of you and Tiaja for, being part of my experience as a nurse and exemplifying your role as a nursing attendant, as a certified patient care technician, whatever that role is for like adding value to like the lives of patients. Because at the end of the day, we don't hear thank you enough for the work that we do, for making it
Absolutely.
through juggling sometimes 3 critical patients when we know it's unsafe. But they're like, we can't get anybody else to come in.
Right.
So thank you both. Thank all the nurses and all the
Thank you,
nursing attendants who
Wesley.
are like, hey, you know what? We got to pull it together and we got to make it work. Just the other day at the job, 4 nurses called out.
Oh my.
So,
That's a lot.
thank God it wasn't on my shift, but they was tight.
Right.
They was tight.
My
The day shift
goodness.
was tight. And
Wow.
unfortunately, your day shift should be your rock stars. So to
Right.
have 4 of your rock stars out can be
Yeah, because they
problematic.
set the tone for the day. They really do.
Exactly. So, all right. So we've been over in time. Thank you guys so much. I'm going on
Thank
break because
you.
I'm going to Australia. So,
Okay.
thank you
Happy,
guys.
safe travels. See, I'm gonna see
Yeah,
you.
be
Like we were just
safe.
talking about your little excursions.
I got to do what I got to do. This is
And
some
if I
hard
pop
work.
out the suitcase, if I pop out that suitcase, don't be mad.
I'll be like, what's happened to the patients? Rebecca, what do I always say? What's happened to the patients?
Right,
What? They
right.
on their
Exactly.
own. They
They on
is
their
on their
own. You're gonna be
own.
like, boo, you in Australia on your own.
Exactly. Well, thank you both, guys. You have a great
You're
Thank
night. Continue the
you.
welcome.
work that you do.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, thank you guys for joining. Like I said at last week's episodes, I'm going on a hiatus for the next 3 weeks because summer's almost over and we're going to enjoy it. But please know that during the course of that time, I will be going live from Australia and live from a few places outside of New York City. So join us. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.